Hey guys, what's up everyone? Welcome back to a new video. I hope you all had a great transition into the new year of 2022. It's just the beginning of the year, which also means it's time for me to record a new video. In today's video, I want to show you how you can quickly throw together new prototypes for applications by using NextJS and Tailwind CSS. I recently did some brainstorming because I was searching for a technology that allows me to quickly throw together a prototype for an idea that I have or for an application that I want to build out, and this is where I came across Next.js. Now, this technology had to fulfill a couple of requirements or a couple of criteria for me, one of them being SEO friendliness, the other one being easy to deploy or especially deploying for free. This is where Netlify comes into play, and another one being easy to design, and this is where Tailwind CSS comes into play. We're going to cover all of that in this video, by the way. We are going from creating the application to deploying it for free on Netlify by using GitHub. I was searching for something really that allows me to throw something together quickly, and since Tailwind CSS has pre-made components that you can use for free like Daisy UI and stuff like this, or just to center something or design something to make it pleasant for the eye without writing a lot of CSS. If you get used to Tailwind CSS, that makes it really easy. Now, when it comes to Next.js, Next.js is a framework for React. And before you ask, no, you don't have to have any knowledge in React to get started with Next.js, at least in my opinion. I'm not a React specialist, I know my way around in React, but I'm not a specialist by any stretch of the word. And I felt really comfortable in Next.js right away. I felt like it was a simplified version of React, at least for me. It's much easier to create new pages or routes than it is in base or in vanilla React. So it's definitely worthwhile to look into Next.js, and if you're interested to learn more about React afterwards, you can just go ahead and dive into all of the different topics. Next.js also has great documentation. They have a great beginner tutorial where you build out a blog on their website. I really highly recommend you going through that. They cover all of the bases that you need to get started, and I think if you follow this tutorial, you can definitely already build something. But with that being said, let's check out what we are going to build today. Since I want to keep this tutorial very basic, we are just going to build out a very simple, stupid app, which you can see right here. It's the cat app. It's just a simple application that utilizes Tailwind to center some stuff. We are pulling in some images from Giphy, and then we are going to deploy this app later on Netlify, and you can access it. The page on the end of this tutorial will be live. And I highly recommend you to pull up the written article that I will link in the video description below. I have a complete step-by-step tutorial up on the blog that you can pull up while you're following through this tutorial to copy and paste all of the code that we are going to use during this tutorial. I usually provide written tutorials to all of my videos so that people can go ahead and copy and paste it. I will leave the link, as I said, in the video description below, as well as on the upper right corner of the screen for you right now to click on. And if you go on my website ezoic.com, you can pull that up right there, and then if you look at that, there is the table of contents where you have the requirements that we are going to need. I'm going to tell you how to install all of that during the video, but in fact I'm going to follow along with this tutorial on my right screen here, so that way I can make sure that I follow the exact steps in the written tutorial, and you can just open that up while you're following through to copy and paste all of those commands and all of the syntax and the code that I'm using for this video. Alright guys, without further ado, let's get right started. As I said, there are minimum requirements to follow along with this tutorial. Probably lower versions would work, but I highly recommend you getting the versions, or at least the versions that I have for doing this tutorial. And you can do that by using a tool called NVM, which is Node Version Manager. I highly recommend you using this tool. You find a tutorial to that in or on my blog as well if you search for NVM. In fact, I'm going to write this as we speak. It will be written today, and you can find it there. Otherwise, just go to GitHub and you will find NVM. So I have NVM version 0.35.3. You don't need that. What you do need is NPM version 8.1.3 or higher. I think this is one of the latest versions. And then we also need Node version 16.13.0 or higher. At least that's what I recommend. Those are the versions I have here, as you can see right there. By the way, if you're wondering what this terminal is that I'm using here, this is WSL2, or more specifically Ubuntu on top of WSL2, and I have a whole tutorial series on how to get the terminal looking exactly like this. If you follow the link in the video description below, or you go to my blog and just search there for it. It's a complete thorough WSL2 customization guide. Feel free to share with your friends, by the way. I put a lot of work in that. Okay, so the next thing we need, if you want to later deploy this application, you do need a GitHub account as well as a Netlify account. Both of those things are completely free, so you can grab those for free and sign up prior to starting this video if you want to. Okay, now that we are all on the same page, let's get started with creating our Next.js application. To do that, we are going to do npx create next app at latest, and then I'll call it, you can call it cat-app, I'll call it cat-app2 because I already have my cat-app up on GitHub, so I'm just using cat-app2. Feel free to use cat-app2 as well if you want to. And we just hit that, and this creates this app in a couple of seconds inside of this YouTube folder I'm currently in. Okay guys, that's done. Let's cd into cat-app2, and from there we are going to go ahead and we are going to configure Tailwind CSS, which is really easy. This is, as I said, it's fully supported by Next.js, so it integrates really well. We do npm install -d Tailwind CSS post CSS auto prefixer. This is the line, and again you can just copy and paste that from the website if you want to. And this should just take a couple of seconds to finish, and then we need to initialize the Tailwind CSS config files to generate them automatically. You can see it was created tailwind.config.js and post css-config.js. Alright, now we can go ahead and open VS Code by typing code dot. If you don't know, or if that doesn't work, just open VS Code manually your way, and just make sure to open this folder in VS Code. To do this, to be able to use VS Code with WSL2, I'm in the process of creating a tutorial for that as well if you don't know how to do that, but most of you guys should already be familiar with this. Alright, so we have this folder open here, and we can see that in fact the Tailwind config.js file was created, and this is what we are going to modify next. Okay, so we need to add a little bit of content here, and I'm just gonna copy and paste that right out of the website, and you wanna paste this into this content array here. Gonna save that up. Let's get a little bit more space in here so we can see that better. There we go. So you want basically tell Tailwind CSS which kind of folders you use and which kind of file extension it should use. Then another thing we want to do is we want to modify in the styles folder the globals.css file, and we can do that by simply copy and pasting these styles that I have on the website for you. This is my base styling basically that I use for fresh applications, and once you did that, just click on save. I think I forgot to save in here. And then we should be set up. What we can do next is cleaning up the default things that were created by Next.js. So this is the home module CSS file. We can go ahead and delete this. We don't need it anymore. And then we go into the public folder. We can remove the favicon, whatever, I don't know how to pronounce that, and as well as the Wurzel logo. We delete those both files out of here. And then we open our index.js file inside of the pages folder. And let me make this a little bit smaller, and let's close that up. And basically then we want to delete everything, so all imports, because we don't need those at this moment. And then I'm just gonna copy and paste this from the website as well. So I'm gonna delete everything inside of this return statement, except the return statement, so that it basically looks like this. And I'm gonna paste this in from the website. This is just a div that says the cat app, and it's using a bunch of Tailwind classes. So feel free to manually type those off, but I just recommend you to get this right from the website. It's much easier. And by the way, guys, I'm using a couple of Tailwind and also NextJS extensions. I'm going to show you which ones. Let's open the extensions folder or the extensions menu here, and you can see I have a bunch installed in WSL, so all of those below here are the ones I'm using. And concretely I'm using, let's see, I'm using Headwind. So this allows you to, it basically automatically sorts the Tailwind classes always in the same order. This is really helpful if you get started with Tailwind CSS. And then I'm also using another thing called, where is it? Let's see, Tailwind CSS and Tailwind. So this allows you to quickly go through all of the different classes by just typing them. And I'm going to show you how that looks like. Let's close that up. And if I type something, let's say W minus, and this is the IntelliSense feature. So you can go through all of those classes here without always looking at the documentation. And after a while I found you get really fluent with this, and you just type one letter, justify or whatever. Sometimes you need to go back and do a fresh space, so to say, and then type justify, and then all of those things will pop up as an example here, and it's really, really nice to work with that. Alright, now that we have that in check, we can go ahead and run our application by simply running npm run dev. And if you followed along so far, you should be on the same page like I am. Okay, that's loaded up. If we press F5 here, or we go to localhost :3000, then we see our cat app. It's centered, hence our Tailwind CSS configuration was correct. Our Tailwind classes are working, and we are ready to continue developing this application. Since this application is called the cat app, we obviously need some cat images. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on design or anything. This video is really just about to show you how quickly you can throw something together and get it deployed for free. So let's do just that. If you open up the website, there is a file, a zip file that you can download. Oh, actually, I think I didn't put that even there. Just go on the website and right click the image and click save image as, then you can download the image from my website, or you just go to Giphy and you download it from there. Whatever floats your boat. I'm gonna copy it from my own website. I'm gonna just right click and save image as. So I'm gonna download 3 cat images, and once I have them downloaded, quickly pull that up. Just open your download folder, create a new folder inside of the public folder and call it images, and then just drag and drop those cat images inside of this folder. And if you click on those images now, we see that we have the 3 GIFs here, and this is what we want. Of course, go ahead, feel free, modify that as you like, and maybe choose some of your own pictures. Maybe you want to create the dog app instead of the cat app. Feel free to do so using those images here. Okay, back to our index.js. Let's close this up. We don't need it anymore. And then we can continue with adding those images to our index.js file. The first thing we need to do for that is in Next.js, we need to import the image component. To do that, we do import image from next image. And then we need to import all of those cats. And I'm going to quickly copy and paste that from the website here. So that makes it a little bit easier. So you need to import it, and then you need to specify the folder, the public images folder, and then the name of the GIF file that we have just uploaded into this folder. Next up, I'm going to add a bunch of more code or modified code in here, and I'm going to explain to you what that does. So we have that here now. So I basically just added another div down below here that is the ring, or that represents the wrapper for this cat image. So this is the purple or the pink ring that we have here. And then we have this image component imported here. Now, Next.js is very specific when it comes to images because out of SEO reasons. So I highly recommend you read this. They have a whole topic about images on the documentation that you can pull up, and all of those things are explained there. Priority is important if it's above default. So if you open a website and the image is directly there, the user can directly see the image, you need to set the priority tag so it doesn't get lazy loaded. That means that the image gets loaded with priority, and this is really, really important. The layout stuff I'm not going to cover here. It's pretty much self-explanatory if you have been working with CSS before. We have a cat image or a cat GIF here now, and now we can basically go ahead and then do more or import all of the other images as well, and that's simply by copy and pasting the code that we already have, just by modifying the different image paths. So we do that below here. Since we want a ring around the other ones too, this is basically the code block that we are copying, and the only thing I'm changing here is the source from cat1 to cat2 and to cat3 over here. So this should be pretty clear. Now we have 3 cats above each other, we have some spacing in there and stuff like this. By the way, if you hover over any Tailwind class, you always see what kind of bare CSS it is actually doing. So it's really useful if you want to understand what a certain Tailwind class does. I also completely explained this part here on the website, so feel free to read up on that right on my website as well. I explain every single one of those options for you. All right, now this is a pretty boring looking white background app. Let's make this a little bit more pleasant as well for the eye, and to change the background a little bit more. So we add some crazy background gradient color there, and I'm going to copy and paste that from the website because this is way too much to type it out. And we just gonna copy that, and then we're gonna open up our globals CSS file here, and I'm just gonna replace let's actually replace all of it. There we go, and we just paste this in here, and now we have a nice gradient background color. Now, as I said once more, this is not about making the app nice. Of course, you can make it responsive, you can do whatever you want, play around with it as you see fit, but this is the app that we are in fact going to deploy, and this is what I want to cover next. So there are different ways on how to add this application to GitHub. The easiest way probably is having Git installed, and I cannot cover all of this in this video, how to install Git and stuff like this, obviously. So I assume you have Git installed and you know how to basically deploy or upload your repository to GitHub. I'm just going to show you how I do it here. So we do git init to just initiate a Git repository in here, and then I do wsl path -w dot for the current directory, and I'm gonna copy and paste this. Then I'm going to open up GitHub Desktop. I really like to use GitHub Desktop. It's a really easy way to use Git on Windows, and I do this by clicking on File and then Add Local Repository. Then I paste this path, it's this path, this WSL path right in here, click on Add Repository, and then we see that this is picking it up. Then I say here summary initial commit, then I commit it, and then I do publish repository. There we go. We call it cat app 2, and this code does not need to be private, it doesn't really matter. Then I click on publish repository. Takes a couple of seconds. Of course, feel free to do your way, your preferred way of publishing stuff, and then it's on GitHub. Alright, I assume you have signed up for Netlify. Now there will be a lot of blurring going on here because this is my actual Netlify that I'm using for my projects as well, not only for my tutorials. So I'm gonna blur out a bunch of things here that I don't want everybody to see. But you should see add new site here. If you are logged into your account and you've created an account, then you have this add new site button here. Then you click on it and you click on import an existing project. This opens up a new site here, and then you need to connect to Git provider. Now I already connected to GitHub. You just need to click on GitHub and then go through the verification on GitHub if you haven't done that yet. I'm just gonna click on this. This opens up yet another window, and it tells me I'm authorized, which is fine. And I need to do a little bit of blurring here again probably. And then depending on your settings, you either need to choose the repo from here if you have allowed GitHub access to all of your repos on, if you have allowed Netlify access to all of your repos on GitHub, which I do not recommend. I do recommend a repo by repo based authentication for GitHub. For Netlify, just scroll down until you find can't see your repo here, configure the Netlify app on GitHub, then you click on that. Now I really need to blur a lot of stuff, I guess, but it doesn't matter really much. And let me just throw that here. Okay, then you need to scroll down until you find only selected repositories or all repositories. Set it up as you would like to, it doesn't matter. And then you want to click on select repositories and search for this cat app 2 that we just created, and it pops up right here. I click on it, I click on save, and I'm sorry if I cannot show you that properly, but you get the idea. And then in fact you have the cat app 2 here as a selection directly. Then you click on cat app 2. Then you need to scroll down a tiny bit here, and it automatically tells you here that seems like this is a Next.js site. So this is automatically recognizing this as a Next.js site, which it will automatically configure and install the Essentials Next.js build plugin and stuff like this. So this is really useful. Then you click on deploy site, and then the deployment process is starting. If you scroll down a tiny bit, you see that it's currently starting up the build process. So this takes a couple of minutes until it's built, and then we can go ahead and pull up the site. The beauty on this way of deploying sites is that you can hook this site up to an actual domain and run it on a real domain. And then every time you work on your repository, on your Git repository or on your application, and you make a commit or a push of your new code to GitHub, this will automatically rebuild and take changes into consideration and basically update your live site after your Git commit. So I really like that way of development, especially because it's completely free. The only thing you need to do, obviously, if you want a custom domain, is pay for a domain name, which means you can host a fully functional website for like $10 per year, which is insane to me. Like, Netlify is so great. I really like their service and Jamstack in general. Okay, this took about like 1.5 to 2 minutes, and if we click on the link here, this is our link to our Netlify application. If you click on that, boom, there's our cat app. Now you can see that the cats are not moving. I wasn't able to figure that out in the scope of this tutorial why it didn't work. I didn't want to waste too much time on it, but apparently it has something to do with the build process or something with Netlify, that as soon as you upload a GIF to Netlify, it's not moving anymore. As I said, I didn't find it out during creating this tutorial. If you guys find it out what the reason for this is, why this does not work, why the cats are not moving like on our local development server, please let me know in the comments below, and I will upgrade or update the tutorial accordingly. That being said, this is all there is to it. So if you don't follow this in a matter of a tutorial or something, I literally can upload or deploy a site, a freshly created website, within 10 minutes or less, completely for free. And I really love that. And this is what I'm going to use moving forward for all of my applications. You can run a backend on Netlify as well. You can create an API on Netlify. It's absolutely amazing. Now I have a challenge for you guys if you want to dig a little bit deeper into that whole thing. Some ideas for a challenge at least. You can go ahead and change the layout a little bit locally on your development server. You can change the background, play around with that. You can add more cats or add dogs, whatever you want. Or you can make the heading a little bit nicer or make the app responsive. And if you did that, go ahead and copy and paste this link. Tag me on Twitter, I'm at Ezoic. Share this with me, I'll make sure to retweet it. And show me what kind of cat apps or dog apps or whatever hamster apps you're going to build and deploy using this method, and let me know what you think about Next.js and Netlify and Tailwind CSS. Alright guys, I hope it was as much fun for you following through with this tutorial as it was for me creating it. I really love this tech stack, this Jamstack stack, whatever you want to call it, for quick app development, and I definitely will continue using it for my applications in the future, for my prototypes and stuff like this, because it's such a fast way of doing things and throwing things together. If you like this tutorial, make sure to show your support by subscribing to my channel. I have ambitious goals for this year for this YouTube channel. There are many great things to come, so make sure to subscribe and also hit the notification bell if you want to get notified if I release a new video. Also make sure to check out the WSL2 tutorial series if you want to get the same development environment going as me. And stay tuned for the next video, which will come soon. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.